I'd like to call the Administration Committee meeting of the City of Menasha to order. Clerk Newman, could we have the roll, please? I went through my Rolodex of city clerks before I said Newman. Could we have the roll call, please?
Alderman Rapella.
Here.
Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Eisenach.
Here.
Alderman Sevenick.
Here.
Alderman Hammond.
Here.
Alderman Lewis. Here. Alderman Tom Grotti.
Here.
Alderman Ted Grotti. Here. All are present.
Thank you. We have three items of business this evening. The first is to approve the Administration Committee meeting minutes from May 15th, 2023. Is there a motion? Alderman Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to make a motion for the approval of the Administration Committee minutes from May 15th, 2023.
We have a motion from Alderman Hammond and a second from Alderman Ted Grotti to approve the minutes. Any questions or conversation about those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Minutes are approved. Our first action item this evening is Resolution 1723, a resolution approving a 2023 general fund budget adjustment for the purpose of funding the Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue budget deficit for the 2022 fiscal year, as introduced by Mayor Merkes. Director Sassman, this is something that we see very infrequently. I think I've seen fewer than a handful of budget adjustments on my time here on the City Council. So could you briefly summarize how we got here today and why it's necessary to create a budget adjustment?
Sure. So as mentioned, the resolution in your packet is meant to address the budget deficit for the Neenah Menasha Fire Rescue for the 2022 year. Each city would be responsible for their respective portion of the deficit based on the amount of the budget that they were responsible for that year. So for Menasha, for 2022, that was 39.35%, making our portion of the deficit $129,508. The reason for doing a budget amendment as opposed to just strictly overspending is that we have the capacity within our expenditure restraint to do so, and this adjusts the budget amount that we have filed with the Department of Revenue. And being that we have the capacity to do that, it puts that just at that higher limit, and that we know we're going to be spending those dollars. The City of Neenah is holding the deficit in full, so the payment would be to them for our portion, and then that would settle everything for the 2022 year. This adjustment would not affect our tax levy, and the reason being is, for one, I know that our interest rates on the interest revenue that we're receiving is significantly higher than what we budgeted for at the time the budget was passed. So the additional interest revenue that we will be getting for 2023 will more than cover this budget amendment. So therefore, no effect to the tax levy.
Thank you for that. And because we did not budget these funds in 2022, we need to account for them now. Correct. In 2023,
yep.
As well as file that paperwork with the state.
Yep.
Make sure
yep.
everything is.
Yep, we have an opportunity to file an amended expenditure restraint with the Department of Revenue prior to the end of June to reflect that new general fund budget amount.
Okay. Thank you. And then it'll be funded with revenue from interest earnings?
Correct.
On accounts that the city has right now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. And before I ask for a motion, I'm just going to turn it over to Chief Clone for a second.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't call you earlier today.
That's okay.
But I know that this has been discussed thoroughly at committee level. Could you just briefly summarize how we got here?
So over the past, especially last year and the year before, was probably a little bit of COVID in the beginning of the year and then at the end of the year. Last year, our major issue with the overtime was 2 very long-term FMLA surgeries combined with a little bit of COVID, and then we had some major apparatus issues with repair work. So those are
Apparatus being,
the fire engine, yeah, the engines or trucks.
Thank
yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
thank you for that. Is there a motion? Alderman Hammond?
Thank you, Chair. As staff is requesting us to forward this to the Common Council, I'd like to make a motion to forward Resolution R 1723, a resolution approving a 2023 general fund budget adjustment for the purpose of funding the Menasha Fire Rescue budget deficit for the 2022 fiscal year. Introduced by Mayor Merkus.
We have a motion by Alderman Hammond and a second by Alderman Ted Grady. Alderman Rapella, your question.
Thank you very much. Chief Kevin, a couple questions. I know that we've been very lucky because we had the interest rates to cover this $120-some thousand oversight. So now we have, what steps are you doing to maybe prevent this from occurring next year? Because we could have surgeries, we could have fire truck issues, we could have paternity leave. How are we going to prevent having a consistent over budget draw, since there really was no slap on the wrist this time because we got money from the interest rates being so high? So how has the fire department decided to, besides praying that nobody gets hurt and nobody gets pregnant, how are we going to save that?
Well, most of the issues, again, are staffing, and staffing is contractual. So I can only do what I can with being, without it being in the contract. So again, when our minimum staffing is at 17, so when it falls below 17, then there's the overtime. So again, with 2 major surgeries, there was at least 1, sometimes 2 overtimes every day. So a big change would have to come contractually at the next negotiations. And then, like, from now until the end of the year, we just look at what we have to, what is in the budget, and have to make decisions whether or not to allow the overtime, such as in the fall for Fire Prevention Week, we would just remove that or not do it at all to save overtime.
Is there any opportunity that administration staff would cover some of those missing overtime people?
Well, that is being talked about, but again, that would be covering a management staff, covering a union position that right now we can't do that. So we would have to look at that at next contract time.
Okay. So we really haven't, okay, understood. So this is all contract issues that has to be taken care of the next contract that we could, otherwise we could keep on having $50,000 to $100,000 over budget on a consistent basis.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And I don't think it's fair to say that it's just contract issues. I think there's a couple things at play. Just want to point that out. Alderman Sevenick?
Well, to a degree, it is contract.
But it's not just contract.
Because we negotiated, and actually we debated this for hours until I made the statement. We are the ones that agreed to the contract and the type of staffing levels that are done with the fire department. If those are appropriate or not, those are discussions that I think need to be discussed in the future. The reason I did put on my mic, though, was to clarify that we do budget for overtime. This is just an amount well over that amount. So, and also too, we're being caught off guard because this is to a degree a clerical situation that happened in Neenah. you know, this, whether you like it or not, it's the Neenah Fire Department. And they handle all the business of the fire department. And the new finance person found this and pointed this out to our committee, and we weren't too pleased about it, and it's a lot of money. I think sometimes it seems like people love that overtime, but it really hurts us in our community, and this time it really, really did. But our contract says 4-man or 4 personnel individuals on at any time, and if someone cannot be there, they're called in on overtime. And in the future, if we don't want to see this coming forward, that's going to have to be discussed. But I also, out of fairness to the fire department and the chief and the committee, it was a unique year or situation where this had to occur. Some of the reasons that, although it was probably not appropriate the way he had stated it, were the facts, that there were a number of very lucky couples who had kids, and there was child leave, so that played into it. And as the chief stated, the others. So we have good years like this, and we have off years. This has just happened to be one of those that's an off year, and we're lucky here in the city of Menasha that Jennifer, the mayor, were able to come up with an idea how to pay it. There were other options of ways that we could have paid this, but I think this is the best.
Thank you, Alderman Sevenik. Chief Clone, just to reiterate, summarize, this was a combination of factors, staffing and overtime issues, and significant repairs, really significant repairs to a fire truck that added up. And we're behind on our fire trucks because of supplies and parts and all of that.
Correct.
Thank you. Could you toss the mic back to Director Sassman? One final question from me, Director Sassman. Have you been in touch with the finance director from Neenah to talk about processes and lines of communication to prevent this this situation from happening again?
Yeah, we have. I can't say that we've, again, come up with a concrete solution, but most definitely we've had those conversations with Neenah, and also involving the fire department as well.
Yes, or at the very least to get a heads up that we're headed in this direction. We need to, look at where we are going to potentially exceed our costs and what we can do about that, instead of being in this position a year after.
Right, and we knew at budget time, overtime would be over budget, but come year end, and once their books were closed, it was even more so. So, unfortunately.
All right, thank you for that. Any other discussion? Alderman Grotti, Ted Grotti.
Thank you, Chair. Also, Chair, I'd like to mention Alderman Sevenik and myself, and no, Alderman, she wasn't on it, but Lewis is on the committee, and we do review the budget every quarter and see where we are. And I think October or September, it was pretty much in line. It wasn't really that far off. In the last couple of months, it kind of went a little haywire, but we are, as commissioners on that committee, reviewing the department's financial budgets.
Thank you for that. Seeing no other discussion, we do have a motion to forward this resolution to council. We'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. And we have item number 2 this evening, our 2023 and 2024 July 4th fireworks contract from Spielbauer Fireworks. Mayor Marcus, would you like to present this?
Sure, I
since
can
it's
make
your item?
a few comments on it.
Thank you.
So the last time that we had a contract with Spielbauer was in 2021. So we are 2.5 years out from the last time we had a contract. And as everyone knows, prices have changed fairly dramatically on almost everything. When I first called Spielbauer's, he did call back and he told me he had very bad news for me and he didn't know quite how to describe this. And I thought it was going to be that Spielbauer's had to close and was not able to provide our show. So a little better, but still the price to put on our exact same show that we had in 2022 was about $45,000. And I knew that we could not afford that, or I didn't think we wanted to afford that, so I did ask him how we could have a similar show. And what he did was change out some of the more expensive brand name shells and change a few other things within the show. He did keep some of the very popular things with the floating shells and some of the other more unique things, and we could get that done for $37,000. That is still about a $7,000 increase from previous years. I think it's important that we continue our fireworks show. We do get donations from Festival Menasha Utilities, thank you, Melanie. And I'm missing, there typically is a donation from Community Fest as well. So that covers about half the show. The remaining portion, the $7,000, it's a fairly small amount in our overall budget as we continue to look forward, but we saw tonight we had already 2 unexpected revenue sources that we hadn't budgeted for. Thank you, Director Schrader, for selling a lot that we had not budgeted for, and then also the interest income that Finance is seeing with Director Sassman. So this, I would not expect us to be over budget overall based on the $7,000, but we don't necessarily have a specific spot that we would say reduce this and add that. But we would expect that we would still come in under budget overall. And with that, I can try to answer questions. Fireworks are not necessarily my expertise, but I do talk to Spielbauer each year.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't anticipate anyone voting against fireworks, but it is $7,000 over the amount budgeted. I think what I'm hearing you say is that there will be sufficient funds available to cover the difference come December 31st. Thank you. Is there a motion to forward this to the council? Alderman Hammond.
Thank you, Chair. I would make a motion to forward the 2023 and 2024 July 4th firework contract with Spielbauer Fireworks to the City of Menasha Common Council.
Is there a second? We have a motion from Alderman Hammond and a second from Alderman Tom Grady to forward the fireworks contract to council. Alderman Sevenik.
So when this does come to our next meeting, are you going to have a proposal of what account it's going to come from, or are you just going to take it from the general fund?
I would propose that we don't have a direct offset, if you will, not that we're going to underspend somewhere by $7,000. So I think the plan is that we would spend the $37,000, knowing that we have revenues coming in that we're not budgeted for this
Kind of like what we just voted on before.
fairly small amount that we know we have.
It's budgeted, but it'll be over budgeted.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then come preparation for the 2024 budget, we'll budget 37.
Correct.
In that one. Great. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote.
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you, and with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn by Alderman Hammond, seconded by Alderman Tom Grady. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.